Good afternoon, everybody. Stephanie Brown here with Intelligent Construction Opportunities. I'm happy to say I've got Heith Willis here, Senior Project Manager in the area of mechanical, I know is a specialty, but also having some great experience on the electrical and plumbing side of the world, as well as far as the trades are concerned. And the reason that we do these live streams is to sort of tease out the areas of all the value chain up and down in the construction world. And I'm really happy to have Heith here today to just play around with ChatGPT and, see what we come up with and questions that we feed it. So thank you for joining, Heith.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah, we've been playing around a little bit before we went live today, just sort of testing out our mutual ideas about this idea, and for the throwdown today, and Heith and I are talking about perhaps extending things, but today we're just going to play around with some general questions. Some will be technical, some will be more specific to the trade. I will share my screen here that we are working in ChatGPT, so that the audience can take a look as ChatGPT spits out certain answers about certain things. So let's start off, Heith, by sharing with the audience a little bit about yourself and what your background is and why I personally think you're a good candidate to do this.
Yeah, I'm Heith Willis. I've been in the construction trades for 27 years, but mostly I'm a fourth generation plumber, pipe fitter. So I was kind of born into it, and I've been blessed to be able to move into the project management role through a few different companies, and also I've worked in the field probably half of my career in the field and half of it in the office. So I have fairly extensive experience in MEP trades.
Can you give just a few examples of the kinds of projects you've worked on, Heith, over your career?
Yeah, I've worked on hospitals, federal prisons, all the way down to the restaurants and apartments, and I've worked on a electric vehicle battery plant that was a massive project, and hope to work on some more.
And what are some of your favorite projects, if you had to pick as a skilled tradesperson that you are? What really lights you up about what you do?
I really like the electric vehicle plant, and also I really like hospitals. It's just hospitals are really challenging because it's tight spaces, and you've got to really be detailed in what you do.
So when we ask ChatGPT some questions today, maybe we should, maybe look at them for the kind of ways that you favor projects. I want to share with the audience now. They can see that I've got the ChatGPT up here, and just for the fun of it, I said to Heith before we got on, so give me a kind of a question that you might ask ChatGPT if you were looking for advice. And this is the first one. He said, "What do I need? What do I need a train chiller shows if it shows code 70?" And it was quite amazing to see what came back. And Heith, what are your comments on it?
I mean, it's pretty neat, just the detail that it gives you, and all the steps that someone who's been doing it for years would learn. Those are the different steps that you would go through in diagnosing and repairing when that chiller goes into that code. Just having the ability to know what that code means through ChatGPT in that timely manner. Sometimes, given what it used to take to go find a manual and look it up and figure out what that code means and what the possible outcomes could be, in a matter of seconds, it's right there on your phone. or your computer. It's
So
pretty
tell me,
neat.
how would you approach this if someone didn't have the app on their phone now? Because I mean, it seems so obvious now, but I mean, it obviously was not.
Well, I mean, 25 years ago, you would have called a trained representative and walk through what that code means. If you don't have a manual, or if that, you're not familiar with that code that come up. So you'd have to call a representative if you didn't have the book, and a lot of times when you show up to diagnose something, or if you're on site, um, and you're just working on other things, that code is, it might as well be Chinese to you. So, you'd have to either call a representative and stay on the phone forever, and and then finally get the code, and then have, as you can see on the list, there's multiple outcomes from that code that it could be. So then you'd have to know all the outcomes and probably write them down, and then
And you
diagnose.
said 25 years ago. Like, what about 5 years ago? What about 2 years ago?
Well, 5 years ago, you could probably Google some stuff and
Okay.
and come derive an outcome a little bit quicker. You could look it up, but not you still have to do a little bit of research to dive into it and get to it.
Well, so all right, so let's move on then. So when we did this, it gave us this diagnosis, and I said to Heath, okay, pick one of the factors, one of the steps here. And he looked at refrigerant levels. Is refrigerant levels in your trade something that is more common than any of the others on the list? Is that
Not necessarily. It's a fairly common diagnosis, but yeah, it's not any more common than any of the other ones.
So we said, so how can you help diagnose the refrigerant levels? And this is what came back. And again, Heath, your comments on the thoroughness of this and the detail. What are your ideas on that?
Just the outcome of it, and basically, you're taking something. I feel like it would take somebody multiple years to know the outcome, know the steps, and you've got the steps to repair this, in a matter of minutes. It would really speed up the process, and with the skilled trade shortage that's going on, I feel like it would help get more people to a level of quality workmanship that in a shorter amount of time, for sure.
Well, that's a pretty smart and deep answer, I would say, particularly, because of the certain conditions. And so we segued a little bit, and I said, well, what about plumbing? And again, because he has got such scope in his experience, he said, well, what if we go plumbing? And so, he said, what if we said that my Delta Grade kitchen faucet is leaking? What repair part do I need? And again, we got some really cool answers. But you being the professional, Heath, you looked at it and said, okay, we've got to kind of look at where's the leak coming from, right?
Right. And I mean, ChatGPT asked for that, so that was fairly high level diagnosis on the front end. For someone who don't have a plumbing license, that would be the next step, obviously, to figure that out. Where's it coming from? So, yeah.
And so we asked it. We said the leak's coming from the handle, and again, it gave us a whole set of steps. And from your perspective, is this completely accurate? If you had to go from this information, would you be able to arrest that leak?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the average person could definitely, diagnose that and from the steps, if you follow the steps accurately, I feel like you can dive into that and go get your repair parts and make that repair without a problem, because it's going, later it goes into, I mean, it gives you the exact steps to repair, and I know in my past experience, I've forgot to tell people to turn the water off, or I skip steps. I get in a hurry. And so this gives you all the steps, turn the water off, remove the handle, access the cartridge. And it tells you exactly what you'll see, and what tool to use. I mean, it's exactly what you need. So,
well, I was just going to ask it, what tools would I need to stop the leak? So because it sort of said that, but I want to see what happens if you do a little deeper dive. Is it going to, say you need a wrench, you need a, just for the heck of it. Okay.
Well, and on mine it says remove the handle, locate the set screw on the handle. It might be hidden under the cap that you can pry off with a flathead screwdriver. Use an Allen wrench to remove the set screw and then lift off the handle. I don't know if yours. I'm reading from mine.
It says, I remove the handle. Identify if your faucet handle has a set screw or a cap. As you just said, if it's a set screw, typically a hex or an Allen.
Yeah. And then the next step, access the cartridge. Then it says, with everything exposed, use an adjustable wrench to carefully remove this, which is, either a crescent wrench or a pair of channel locks is what I would typically use.
But this is great though, because yes, it did say that, right? In a smaller way. But if you ask it to extrapolate on that idea of tools, it really gets specific. So, I mean, I'm not the professional plumber you are. If this happened to me and, I had some sort of sense of mind that I was going to fix it, I would need to know this level of detail. You would, because that level alone up there would have been fine for you.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it gives on mine. I can't tell on yours. Does yours say additional tips below the faucet repair?
Oh, below the faucet repair? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, mine actually gives additional tips. When I type mine in.
Interesting. How did you word it?
Well, I actually listed a model number on mine, but I couldn't say that to you over the phone, I guess. So that was because it was a very long, complicated model number. But and it said check seals and gaskets, get the right parts, make sure you've got the right parts, and consider professional help, which is not what the point of that was. But also, if you keep turning the water back on and it's leaking, then that's the next step. But but based on the steps and how detailed the steps were, I don't think anybody would need a plumber if they, just to fix their kitchen faucet on with the detail that this is.
Don't say that now. All right. So you've got some questions there. You want to feed me another one? It doesn't matter whether it's electrical or plumbing or whatever.
Well, we've been playing a lot of baseball, so I guess what type of lights are optimal for a baseball field? Okay. I think that would be interesting to see. And our high school just built a new high school field, so curious if we got the right ones, honestly.
I think it's a good question, because again, we're going to dive hopefully a little deeper. And do you want to give it any more specifics outside of that for a baseball field? I don't know.
Well, when I just typed it into mine, it said, the consideration of several factors: level of play, recreational, school, or professional, field size, and spectator needs. So, it basically gives you the next prompts if you wanted to go deeper dive into those different those are your prompts. Let's design this for a professional level or a school field.
Well, that's what I meant, but interesting because
Yeah.
I didn't get the same thing back. I think
Oh,
again,
really?
it's good for the audience because
Yeah.
I find the more general and sort of clipped you make your question, the more general you get back of an answer.
Right. Yeah.
So mine, I said, what type of lights are optimal for a baseball field? No details. Optimal lighting for a baseball field ensures player safety, spectator visibility, and broadcast quality if necessary. And here are some considerations for selecting the appropriate type of lights. So I want to know something. In your answer, so first of all, what was your question?
Mine was basically, I think, the same. What type of lights are optimal for a baseball field?
So isn't that interesting that in
Mm-hmm.
two different instances, it gave more detail? I wonder, were you feeding ChatGPT in the same thread the level of detail that you were giving in those other prompts and those other questions?
Yes. Yeah, I was. It was this one. This question followed the faucet question. So
Okay, so
yeah.
what I'm surmising based on my own experience with ChatGPT that if they recognize that you understand something in a more detailed level, they will feed you back more detailed answers.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was
It,
demising too from all that, is that because it lists metal halide lights or lamps as my first choice, and it says that it's a traditional choice for sports lighting. Which yours, it gives number one is LED lights, which
yes.
I would consider the best ones anyways, because they're the highest lumen um, available, and also the least operating cost. So
And did you get the same light choices, the energy efficient, the longevity, the instant on and off, and so
yep,
on? Yeah.
yep, yep.
Okay. So those answers are equivalent. What about the light levels?
Light levels. Let's see. I don't get anything about light levels.
Wow.
Mine just gave precision and the cons to that.
Interesting.
So
So I've got 7 here. Did it give you the uniformity and the color temperature and the glare reduction, pole height, and the regulations?
no, I only got 3. I got
Isn't
uh,
that interesting?
metal halide lamps, LED lighting, and high intensity discharge lamps.
Well, let that be an example to us all
Mm-hmm.
how thorough or not thorough it can be. And so what I've learned from this little instance here, is just because it's given me information doesn't mean that it's thorough, and that perhaps I should confirm or probe a little bit where it really, in times where it really matters.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's why it only gave me 3 now. I wonder if maybe I'm not asking the supplemental questions that you have in the past or something of that nature, that maybe it's recognizing like, hey, he's good with 3 outcomes, so we're gonna stick with that, keep it simple.
Well, all right. So
You
so
know?
let's do as a test. Okay. I'm going to, because I'm sharing the screen with the audience, I'm going to say, are there any more? And you can do the same and see if you get any answers.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, mine's spitting out some more now. Fluorescent lighting, halogen lamps, induction lighting. Yeah, I gave those three more for me, but it's giving you a bunch more, isn't it?
You see what's so I said, so what are more considerations around this idea of
Yeah,
baseball lighting? So it didn't sort of focus on the actual lamps themselves, but infield versus outfield. I mean, again, but even the language, even the scope that you might even they have to think about.
well, it's kind of fun. Was
Well,
um,
you're still there?
yeah, I'm here.
I'm just not seeing you. There you are. Okay.
Stage.
Well, welcome
Can
to
you
the.
hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you kicked me backstage, I guess.
Okay. No, I didn't touch anything. I promise. It's all
It might
chat.
have been mine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I think this. These are really. I mean, I've got to be honest. I mean, I'm a research junkie to begin with. I
yeah,
really find um, it's 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 so much better than Google because Google used a ranking system, and I think Google's ranking system, when it was designed, was great when there were perhaps not the majority of the free world had a website or had some sort of web presence. So therefore, SEO and all of those ideas, you had a fighting chance to get ranked. But
right.
this becomes your whole personal world of reference. And so I want to sort of continue on with some of the outline questions that I had shared with you initially. So I don't know. Do you want to stick in mechanical, electrical, or plumbing? You choose.
We can probably go into plumbing. I think plumbing would be pretty
All
good
right.
deep dive.
So all right. So I'm gonna put in the question then. How let me see here. How do you approach optimizing water efficiency in plumbing system designs? Okay. Is that something that you might be thinking about, or you give me a plumbing question that if you were on the job and something had gone wrong in terms of something you'd installed, you do it, is it? Because that's why I want that's the whole point of having your knowledge to fight against ChatGPT.
Well, I mean, something on that, I guess more along those scopes would be that I just thought of would be, for like estimating purposes or for just like common, not like if you needed to remove backfill from a ditch in plumbing and then replace it with a different type of material. Maybe you could ask like how many cubic feet of backfill would I need for a 135-foot long, 4-foot deep trench
Okay, give me those dimensions again for
and 2 foot wide. 135 foot
135 foot.
by 4 foot deep by 2 foot wide.
Four. Whoops. 4 feet deep
Mm-hmm.
by
2 foot wide.
2 foot wide. Okay. Okay. How many cubic feet of backfill? I'll just put this in here. What I need.
Now I realize that's a simple math equation, but for someone to type that in and get it.
That's okay. But
Yeah.
again, to me, this is again, when you're talking about, getting new or younger people in these trades, I
Mhm.
think it's really valid to to show off this capability, which can then escalate their career and their capabilities in terms of whoever they're working for. So what do we see here for a trench that's, I don't know, this doesn't look good.
You'll need 1,080 cubic feet of backfill.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah. I mean, that's right. I was wondering how much detail it would go into, if it would give more detail, but I like how it talks back to you. You know, like it don't just say 1,080 feet. You know what I mean? That's kind of unique.
Well, that's what I mean. I've had to learn, as I'm sure people in the audience have, is if you speak to it like a human, it tends to answer you in a human kind of fashion, I'll say.
Yeah. Right. Some other, like other things would be design a grinder pump station, or tell me what size grinder pump station I would need for a facility that has 3 toilets and 3 lavatories and a kitchen sink. What size grinder pump?
Okay, hang on. Tell me what size grinder pump station you said?
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
You would need for a facility with 3 toilets or water closets, depending on where you're at.
Well, do you really call them water closets?
We actually do, yeah. On a lot of times.
Really?
It's
in the South?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's commonly used. It's on blueprints. That's the terminology typically.
All right, here goes. Let's see what happens. Tell me what size grinder pump station you would need for a facility with 3 water closets. Is that right?
Yeah, if you want to add 3 lavatories and a kitchen sink or something.
I like it. All right.
Sounds like a typical office space,
Again, that's why you're the pro, man. I'm not even the typer. And a kitchen and I'll put in a kitchen sink. Oh, never mind, a kitchen sink. Tell me what size grinder pump station you would need for a facility with 3 water closets and 3 lavatories and a kitchen sink. Good?
Yep, and I would hope it's probably going to need more specifics, but I thought that would be a good place to start. Then you'll have to feed it some more detail on the full demand of the plumbing design, I would think. But we'll see what it says.
Well, you're here to judge the accuracy too, right? So
yeah.
All right.
Oh, it's calculated the fixture units and everything. That's pretty unique.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty high level. A lot of people don't know that a water closet is 6 fixture units. And a kitchen sink's 2 versus where a lavatory is just 1. That's pretty high level. There's probably a lot of people out there that don't know how to figure that out.
So let's reel this in a little bit. So supposing you were mentoring somebody on the site, somebody 20-something came into the trade. What might you ask ChatGPT that would help you prepare that person for maybe the first day on the site? And let's pick a project. You say you like hospitals. Let's pretend that they were meeting you on this new hospital project and you were starting to do, let's play with this because we've already got it. So you said a typical office, but this maybe we'll play this out in a hospital scenario. And then the next question can be, how would you prepare, the apprentice coming on the first day on the site? Does that sound good?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good. And I think probably derailing this a little bit, but first thing, um, probably for any trade, a new guy on site, if they've never worked in the construction trades, if they're a brand new apprentice, obviously the first thing that they're going to have to acknowledge that is the most important thing is safety. So, um,
All
you
right, good.
know,
I love it. All right. All right, so we'll leave this scenario alone because at least you've checked the box that it's accurate and really
yeah,
level you didn't even expect. Okay, so let's just riff here. I'm a senior project manager on a new hospital build. Okay.
hmm
Give me some details about the hospital build. Just go back to your imagination and what you've done previously. I'm a senior project on a new hospital build. The hospital is, tell me how it's, approximate size or something that's going to start to give us some context for safety around the conditions of the hospital.
it's three story. You can put 3 story, 200,000 square feet.
Okay.
Um,
200,000 square feet.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And I guess then list, um, or can you explain some safety concerns to an apprentice on this project? See how that goes. If
Okay.
it recognizes what it is, what an apprentice is, and or you could put a new apprentice even.
Okay. Let's see. I've also been noticing that it's become a little slower sometimes with the more level of detail that you're getting it to tease out, which to me I'm happy about because, let's be honest, it exists because it scraped every possible digital iteration of fact
Right.
to
and
become
it
ChatGPT.
and it's kind of scary at the same time because it's like it's thinking.
Well,
Way faster than I do.
well said, Mr. Willis. Okay, so here are our answers. I mean, to me, they're sort of. It's easy to say after the fact they look obvious, but that's what I was going to say. But what do you think? If you were the senior project manager and part of your job is to keep your guys safe, what do you think about the answers?
Yeah, I think those are pretty accurate. And obviously probably want a deeper dive into that. If you're trying to relay some of this information, if the apprentice is the one that's curious, um, you know, you can say what PPE is necessary for this project.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's going into, obviously it's more PPE than you would typically use, on a project like that. But it's also stuff that could be used or could be necessary for a hospital project or any project for that matter. I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's, it's more than what I would have thought of, honestly, or more than I would have stated if someone had asked me that question.
So I have a question for you, and it's coming right from ignorance. Who is responsible for purchasing and equipping this new apprentice with this safety PPE?
The company is responsible for most all PPE on a project.
Okay. So from the list you've provided, what would the approximate cost be to equip, I'm riffing here, 3 new apprentices with this level of PPE? What would the approximate, of course I left the most important word out, cost be to equip 3 to, okay. And then I'm going to ask it to break down the costs individually.
That's going to scare you probably.
Well, no, but what's important here is, if we're talking about safety, I've talked to a few safety guys in my time, and, I get that there's, the safety meetings and all that. But I mean, even you said that this is more PPE than you would have thought, right? And you're
right.
A professional. So obviously it's not something from end to end that is made available because the company is covering the costs.
Right.
So I just want to see for, giggles. Okay, so that's what I want to look at. So what would this be costing the company to ultimately keep those 3 new apprentices safe on that job? Do these numbers ring right for you in your experience?
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. Some of it may be on the low end of the cost that there's typically provided as far as and like one thing to recognize is steel toe boots are usually provided by, obviously bought by the individual. But the first 5 items are provided by the company, and then fall protection will be provided by the company as needed. But that's usually owned and kept by the company. It's not ever, given to an individual, because obviously the cost, I mean, $150. So, typically typically day one, you're going to get a hard hat, safety glasses, and a high vis vest and gloves. So, that in itself though, is a pretty decent investment for a company just to have you show up to work, and hope you come back day 2,
Well, again, I think part of the story and part of what Intelligent Construction Opportunities is trying to do with these live streams is round out the appreciation on both sides of the fence. So skilled labor endures so much downside as much as they get a paycheck. And I think it's important also to recognize what the investment costs on the owner's side or the general contractor side to make sure that their employees are safe.
Yeah.
And anyway, so it's just something that's what made me sort of go down this rabbit hole. So I wanted to just find out a little bit more about the fall protection. So, when you're quoting something like, Wonder $450, when you're breaking down, these kinds of industrial pieces of equipment, it kind of makes sense, right? But it
Right.
also, to me, it also calls out why there are safety problems. Like,
Right.
I get
Yeah.
ministry reports all the time, and I am absolutely disgusted by the amount.
Yeah, and it gets abused. All that stuff gets lost, and then there's a big loss on just safety equipment that I've experienced. People come in every day and want to say that they left their safety vest at home.
Well, it's our little friends here at StreamYard knocking you out again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Go on about the safety vests.
Yeah, I mean, people. I think people show up every day and get a new one. Until they are eventually told, no more. And they get away with 5, 6, 7 safety vests, and same thing with gloves. Because a lot of projects are requiring a cut level, 3 or 5 safety glove now, and you've got to wear them at all times. Well, you know, uh, I lost mine. Well, you've got to send them out there with gloves, so you're going to have to pay for new ones. So, yeah, it's a pretty unique factor that it's kind of a hard thing, but
Is
it's
that
same
something that
thing.
comes up all the time?
Yes, yeah, yeah, it's a common thing, and eventually you just got to tell people if you can't come to work with your gloves or with your PPE, you're going to have to go home because we've provided it for you multiple times. But and you,
Interesting.
there's a big loss in that aspect, and hand tools as well. Those those are you know almost they're basically a consumable.
Well, I think, I think I'm going to call it here. I think,
Okay.
we sort of opened up a nice, I don't know, a beginning, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And, potentially we're going to continue. I would like to sort of, the next time, if we do this, take a scenario where we're actually building out a project. And because you're so seasoned in what you do, I'm sure you've done lots where you've started on day one, and kind of the factors, and sort of forced ChatGPT to help that build from one stage to another. How about that?
That sounds good.
Was it? Let's do
Yeah.
that. I think that would be a very cool thing to do. So I want to thank everybody that jumped on. I know there's been a few people commenting on LinkedIn. I cannot tell you for the life of me why those comments are not showing up for me here on this lovely platform. However, the beat goes on, and I want to really thank Heath. I think this has been good. I think, you're exactly that type of skilled tradesperson that understands and can appreciate the tech if it's working for you in your trade.
Yeah, I hope to keep learning more and more about it. This is probably the most interesting part of it is the new and the old meshing together, you know.
Yeah, but you know that it does, right? And
Yeah.
that's all it is. I mean, I say it all the time. It's a tool. These
Yep.
things are just tools. If they're going to help you to fix that flange, or find that part, or as you said, you used to Google it prior to ChatGPT, then that's going to remove a lot of. Well, let's be honest. It's going to make the trade guy look great, and it's going to get the job done faster, and hopefully the quality's there, and so therefore whoever's cutting the check's going to be happier, and you get to go home.
Yeah, let's just hope that ChatGPT doesn't get the sponsored ads like Google.
Yeah, I've lost your sound. Let's see, is your sound back? No, it looks like there. Nope. All right.
Oh, okay.
There, better. Can you talk? No?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. I'm sorry.
All right. So just while we're closing this up, you said hopefully ChatGPT doesn't get the sponsored ads that Google does. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That way you can dive in, go straight into the questions and answers without having suggested.
Oh, we've lost you again.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry,
I'm going to call it. You go. I'll see you on the other side. And I want to thank anybody who hung in today and listened to us. And there's hopefully more coming down the road. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.